Now we can get into the upcoming series this weekend. Coming up this weekend, there are a lot of good college baseball series to look forward to, starting with probably the best series on paper, with number 4 Arkansas going to number 15 Auburn.
Yeah, two solid teams in the SEC West there. Auburn's trying to separate themselves from that middle of the pack group, and they're at home, so certainly a great opportunity here to take down one of the top teams in the country and really try and solidify that resume as one of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible for Auburn to come away with the series win here. They've shown that they can play with the big dogs, putting up a very good fight against Tennessee, like you mentioned. And Arkansas has been pretty consistent all season long, but haven't really shown that they've reached their full potential. So big series for the SEC West, as they're currently sitting as the number 1 and number 2 teams in that division.
Yeah, and like you said, Auburn loses this past weekend to Tennessee, but they were extremely competitive, did scratch a game away from them. Hopefully they don't lose much confidence. I don't think they should, and this is a great opportunity to bounce back at home.
Definitely, and we can stay in the SEC for another very, very good series and important for both teams. Number 24 Vandy going to number 19 Georgia. It's huge for both teams because they just lost their past weekend series, and then whoever loses this might be on the outside of the top 25 and have to do some work to get back into it. Georgia probably has a little bit more cushion for me just because they've put together, I think, a little bit more consistency and have had better results over good teams. But Vandy really, really needs to get some wins down the stretch to potentially host a regional.
Yeah, Georgia's got the better resume at this point, but tough weekend this last weekend against LSU. Looked like they were going to come away with the series win. They were down to the final 3 outs, but just couldn't hold on. And we'll see how they're able to bounce back. They're back at home, facing off against Vandy, who's an extremely talented squad. But like we say for Vandy, the story is, can they finally win a high-profile series? They've struggled this year against good teams. Don't really have any marquee wins, and they need to get them now sooner than later.
Definitely. And that's all I have for the SEC. We can go to mid-major teams. ODU at number 12 Southern Miss. Really big for Southern Miss to bounce back here and get back on track. But they have a pretty tough schedule for them down the stretch. And to stay in contention for that national seed, they're going to need to win the majority of those games, starting with Old Dominion.
Yeah, we haven't seen Southern Miss have to face much adversity since that series lost to DBU. So we'll see how they respond here. Looking for the pitching staff to bounce back and keep Old Dominion's offense to some low scoring games, and we'll see if they're able to do that.
Yeah. And then for the Big 12, the best game I think I saw was Oklahoma at number 20 TCU. Oklahoma has put together a pretty solid season so far, mostly under the radar, I feel like. So this is a prove-it series for them. And if they can go on the road and beat a TCU team that has shown its inconsistencies, I feel like they can potentially be a team that jumps into the rankings this next week.
Yeah, certainly. This looks like it may be a easy bounce back for TCU at home after dropping the series to Florida State. Like you mentioned, the Sooners have been flying under the radar. They've been sneaky good this year, and I don't think this will be easy at all for TCU. I would not be surprised if the Sooners make some noise and potentially take the series.
Yeah, it's TCU's chance to show why they deserve to stay in the top 25. But just like Vanderbilt and Georgia in that similar sense, they need to prove it here, and it's not going to be easy for them against an Oklahoma team who has given other big teams some problems. But yeah, after that, we can go to the Pac-12 with a rivalry series, Oregon at Oregon State. They first play a Tuesday game at Oregon, but then they go to the weekend series at Oregon State. So it's 4-game stretch. We'll see who comes out the victors of this. Oregon has had a very good offense this season, but the pitching has been a little bit inconsistent. It seems like one week the starters are the weak point, and then the next week it's the bullpen. So if they can get it in sync, I feel like this is a very dangerous squad that could do some damage in the postseason, but they haven't got that just yet.
Yeah, Oregon's been one of those teams just in and out of the low 20s range there. We saw them get as high as I think like 15 in our poll and up to 10 in some polls, but they've been in that middle to bottom of the rankings the last couple weeks and dropping out in some as well after that series loss to Washington State. So looking for a bounce back here against Oregon State. For a while there, Oregon was in the hosting discussion, but Oregon State looks like a deadlock for a national seed right now. If Oregon's able to take this series on the road at Oregon State, or even just split the 4 games in the week total and potentially win the series against Arizona later in the year, we might see Oregon hop back in the hosting discussion. The RPI is in the top 20 right now, so they're certainly set up well, but need to win some games this week.
Yeah, it's definitely just about consistency for that Oregon team. The offense seems to be there on most days, just the pitching can be a little hit or miss. With Oregon State, it just kind of seems like a little bit of the opposite, and pitching for the most part can win you games, and that's what they've shown with their great pitching staff so far this year.
Yeah, like you said, Oregon hasn't been hitting on all cylinders, but if they do, they're another one of those teams where if they get hot down the stretch, not a team you'd want to see in the postseason at all. Certainly a talented roster that could make some noise.
Definitely. Then we can jump to the Big Ten. The one series that I want to highlight is number 21 Maryland going to Rutgers. Currently, these are the top 2 teams in the Big Ten, and Rutgers is probably just outside the top 25 for us. So this series could mean a lot for the conference and for hosting for potentially one of these 2 teams.
Yes, Maryland has looked like the class of the Big Ten the whole year, but Rutgers is sneaking up there, and they're trying to battle for at least a postseason bid. They would like to come away with some wins here. And for Maryland on the other side, like you said, series win, potentially a sweep here, could move them closer into a potential hosting spot for a regional. Need to take care of business down the stretch in a weak Big Ten conference.
Yeah. Surprisingly, Rutgers has the better conference record at 15-3, while Maryland sits at 11-4. But I feel like Maryland has played a little bit harder of a schedule so far, so this is definitely a test to see which team can prove to be the lock of the league per se. But yeah, after that, I feel like we can jump to another mid-major conference with Creighton going to number 25 UConn. After finally deciding to put UConn in our rankings, this is potentially their hardest opponent they have left on their schedule. So it's important to prove that they deserve this spot and are worthy to be there.
Yeah, this is certainly a test right here. Does UConn actually deserve to be a top 25 team? And here's the second best team of the conference. How can you take care of business? We'll see what they're able to do. Any slip up and you'll see them dropping out.
Yeah, for sure. That is a major key for them to just keep the consistency going. But with that was all the teams that I wanted to cover. Anything else you wanna put a note on?
No, I think we covered everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, we would really appreciate a like and subscribe for more college baseball content.